Networking is about offering value, about helping others. It is not
Mm,
about what can I get from someone. And that's the first myth. The outcome later could be that. But the going in position is about I am meeting Dr. Aruna. How can I help her? You're meeting me. How can you help me? That the minute you shift your minds to helping someone, what is the value that I can provide? It doesn't feel so gross. It doesn't feel
mm.
transactional.
Welcome to Luminary Lounge, where we unearth hard earned wisdom from lives well lived. I'm Dr. Aruna Muralidhar. And today, in our episode 31, we're talking with Neeraja Ganesh, a woman who spent 25 years in corporate IT, rising to director at Capgemini, and then walked away to build something entirely different. Neeraja is now a leadership trainer, a TEDx speaker, three-time top 100 global thought leader on a mission to add $5 billion to India's GDP by bringing more women into the workforce. Her philosophy? Say yes to things you don't know how to do yet. She calls it being a fearless generalist. Today, we're talking about childhood moments that shaped her, the pivot that changed everything, and what she's learned about nurturing leadership in the next generation. So let's dive in. Good morning, Nirjan. Thank you so much for joining Luminary Lounge podcast.
Good morning. And it's going to be an exciting conversation, I am sure. Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. So I think we'll start off. You were a director at Capgemini, a title that took 25 years to earn. Take me up to the moment when you realized that title no longer fit who you were becoming, and what did that feel like?
Um, so let me be very honest. I don't think I really cared too much about titles, even in those 25 years of the corporate career. Because I believe that it's the work that you do, and beyond the work, it's the impact that you're able to create. That's what matters. The title is just there for the external world to kind of recognize you. And I'll give you an example for this. So when I was in ANZ before my stint at Capgemini, ANZ, that's the bank, the New Zealand, Australian New Zealand bank, and their technology division. I spent 16 years with them. There was a team that I was to manage. My manager had to be in Melbourne for about 6 months. So while I did my own role, he had asked me to kind of sit in for him for anything that was required in Bangalore. And in those days, we didn't have these kinds of virtual, platforms to interact and all of that. So anything Bangalore that had to be driven by him, his meetings that he had to sit in and all of that, I used to be there. And I thought I did an exceptional job because I was doing my own role and in many ways his role, right? So when the performance appraisal happened, we had come down to have that conversation. I was thinking that he will say, Neerja, you've done exemplary. And well, he said, you did what was expected. Okay. So in our rating system, if those who know, a rating of 3 is you did what was expected. A rating of 2 is you went beyond Call of Duty. I was hoping at least 2, if not one role model, right? But he gave me a 3, what was expected. And I'm a person who will not sit and fight, at the table because this conversation ideally should have happened much earlier in terms of setting expectations, checking whether, he thinks I'm doing well or going beyond the Call of Duty. Can't be doing it on the day of the performance appraisal. So I let it be. But I told him, see, next appraisal, I want something better than this. So let's now sit and, tie up goals, which very explicitly tell both of us that if you do this, this is going beyond the Call of Duty, which means that it could be rated 2 or 1. Give me some stretch KPIs, something more to do. And he said, see, I'm not going to give you anything more, but let me tighten up the current goals and the metrics around it. So we used to have, say, customer satisfaction score, on a scale of 1 to 10, then staff satisfaction score, then some delivery metrics and all of that. So he said, right now, 8 out of 10 customer satisfaction score is, say, 3 out 3, okay, which means that as expected. to get beyond, you have to get a 9. He said, I'm just going to tighten it up. So if you get a 9, then it is 3 out that you just done what was expected. If you get a 10 on 10 customer satisfaction score, then you've gone beyond. And like that, he said, I will tighten up the scores. And I told him, um, I don't think I'm going to do anything different just because you're scoring me differently. You might say 2 out of 10 is exemplary or 10 out of 10 is exemplary. This is not going to change the way I'm going to deal with customers. I will do what is required to be done, regardless of whether you're going to score me well or not, right? That's my
Yeah.
role. In my role, I have to cater to customers. I have to keep my teams happy. I have to deliver, to the project requirements as per the schedule. So that's what I'm trying to say, that the title or the KPIs, the goals didn't necessarily meet. I mean, we had the larger picture, but I did whatever I needed to do, almost like an entrepreneur, right? An entrepreneur doesn't need to be directed by something. He or she decides and goes all out and will go beyond that. So I think that's the answer to the question that, yeah, forever I didn't
Right.
really care about titles. But yes,
Okay. Yeah. So,
priorities mattered, right? Priorities
yes.
definitely mattered. I always knew what was my priority. Yeah.
Hmm. No, yeah, I think that's the human values and the connection that you brought in, rather than objective sort of let's say KPIs and things like that. So that makes a huge difference. When you told people you were leaving, what was the most common reaction at that time?
Oh, yeah. Many asked me, how did I muster the courage? Yeah, because it's not easy. Why is it not
Yeah.
easy? Many people are attached to titles. Let's be honest about it. So
Hmm.
you suddenly have no title, or you have to think of what is the next title that I'm going to have. But beyond the title was also the paycheck that used to
Yeah.
hit your bank account on the last day of the
True.
month, which was not going to be coming, at least till I figure out, what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do that. So these two, of course, the courage was this, that, how do you, walk away from a title, or how do you walk away from a paycheck? But many people actually called me to say, I also want to do this. I want to be able to just follow my passion, or I have a larger purpose, and I want to follow that. But I don't know how to transition out from what I'm doing, now as a corporate job to something else. How did you do that? Especially after I got into, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, like what I did immediately after moving out to the corporate. After 6, 7 months of the things that I was doing, people called me to say, I want to know, how did you manage that? So that was the reaction.
So let's go back to the beginning. What was young Neeraja like as a child? Was there a moment in your childhood when you first realized you were very fiercely competitive or had leadership qualities, etc.? Let me let me delve into that.
So, well, I don't think any of that was there, or if it was there, it was observed by me or anybody else, right? I was a very meek, timid, shy girl. And nobody who knows me today, accepts that. But if you ask the people who grew up with me for the first 30 years of my life, I must say, or 25 years at least, they would say, what happened to you, right? Because I was an extremely meek, timid, shy girl. And let me tell you, I didn't have any friends also in school, because you are that shy girl who doesn't go and talk to anybody. Nobody comes and talks to you, because I was very average at studies, not very great looks, right? And so this is not a great combination for a girl in school. I studied in an all girls convent school. We had about 60 students in the class, right? So then you're not even recognized when you are a nobody almost. So I think. If I were to reflect now, when probably I exhibited some leadership qualities, which may not have been recognized as leadership then, but now, if I were to reflect, I think it was probably in me. So there was this girl, I think maybe I was in the fifth grade. We were in Indore. I was studying in a school in Indore. I was in a convent school. So there was the staff, the school staff, the housekeeping staff, and all of them. They had accommodation given to them in the school premises. It was a huge school. So there was one of the housekeeping staff's daughter used to study in the same class as me. So you can imagine again, she probably, they had no friends. So the two of us used to sit and have our lunch together. I would bring whatever I had, roti, sabji, dal in my dabba, and they used to give them meals. This is the midday meals and all of that, which used to be largely khichdi every day. So she would open her tiffin box of khichdi, and I used to eat her khichdi because that used to be, some great food for me, and she
Yeah.
would get to binge on my dabbas. And one of the days, she asked me to come to her house. We came in the same campus. So during lunch, she said, "Why
Mhm.
don't you come to our house?" And I went to her house. It was the smallest house that you could imagine. And the same khichdi was served to me for lunch. And I still remember, it was so many years ago, right? How grateful she and her family was to me because I visited their home and I ate the food that they served. And I'm sure that would have made a huge difference in her mind, to her confidence because of this gesture. And I may not have realized this as a big thing at all then, but today, if I were to think back, I think in some ways this was probably some form of leadership, right? What do leaders do? They show empathy. They kind of, show helpfulness. They are there for the others. So maybe it was there in me always, but it didn't really come out as leadership.
Well, those are really nice gestures, especially when nobody else would think of doing it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you've always been drawn to taking on challenges outside your comfort zone, right? So where did that come from? Was it a parent, a teacher, a mentor, or an early experience that taught you that discomfort is where growth happens? Was that the way?
I don't think it was so very external. I think it probably was an inner urge to do things in a certain way, right? And as I said, I was a very meek, timid child. So I just did things which people asked me to do, largely my parents, but it wasn't too much. They didn't ask me to do too much. So I come from a very conservative South Indian family. And I think all my parents wanted for me was that I study so that I get to a marriageable age and they can get me married. I think that was all there, in the that they could visualize, and they kind of made it out to be also that this is all there is in life. So I just went by whatever they would guide me. But I think I remember and this is there in my TEDx talk, so it's not a plug, but I don't want to do the 18 minutes of TEDx talk here. People can go and listen to the details there. But I remember that after 10th grade, I went and chose science, right? That's what usually happens. It happened then and it still happens today, nothing wrong with it. But I think we don't think through whether we want to look at any other subjects. So I did physics, chemistry, maths, biology because the whole world was doing that. All my friends were doing that. I was good at maths, but none of the other subjects were, my forte. And I really did very bad in my 12th grade. Really bad. I just passed. Maths, I got really good marks, but everything else was very bad. And after that, I made the decision that I'm going to do something that I'm passionate about. And all I was passionate about was maths. So I wanted a graduation degree in maths. And in those days, again, I'm talking about 1986 or 88 when I went to do my graduation. There weren't too many courses. There was physics, chemistry, maths, or there was chemistry, biology, zoology, or something like that, botany, zoology. There was this one college, Vijaya College in Bangalore, that offered a course, maths, statistics, economics. So I felt maths is maths, statistics something like maths, and economics is maybe something like maths, and I chose that. That was, I think, the first thing outside my comfort zone, if I can remember, because nobody was choosing these subjects. We
Yeah.
had about 23 people in our class, and most people had come to that course because they didn't like physics or they didn't like chemistry. And this combination didn't have those subjects. Or since it was not a popular course, people got into it very easily. The other courses, you had to get a particular cutoff. But
Mm.
for me, it was because I knew this is a subject that I want to study. And the way I excelled, I topped the college. I was 100 on 100 in every, exam. So I think that was probably the first time I said, let me get out of the comfort zone of just doing what everybody is doing and what everybody is telling me. Yeah.
That's right. So I mean, you found your forte early in life. Some people struggle with that and never get to their core, let's say, talent. And you said your shift from corporate to social entrepreneurship wasn't a strategic plan. It was triggered by personal circumstances. How did that disruption change what you thought success meant? When you moved from corporate to social entrepreneurship.
So let me define success, right? Because it's different for different people. Success is
Mm-hmm.
not always about, again, we spoke title, money, and all of that, fame and stuff like that. We need all of that. I'm not saying I'm a Zen, a saint who says nothing. We don't need all of that. Of course, that's needed. But I think for me, success is largely being able to understand my own priorities and meet those priorities, right? It's not about what the world is doing. What do I want to do? And am I able to get to those? That's what success has been. And I know that these priorities change over time. At different stages of our life and career, we have to shift priorities. But being able to accept those changes, reprioritize, and then still go after that is success for me. Yeah. So as I gave the example of my corporate also, where I was speaking to this person and said, no, it's not about the rating you give because the customers scored, right? It has to be what I do and create the impact. So, for example, when I say my priorities, my family was always priority one throughout my career, right? So I chose to take up assignments which ensured that what was required for family at that point in time, I was able to give to them. So I never took up any overseas assignments. There were plenty available in my early career days. But I didn't take it up because I didn't think it mattered. Like I'm somewhere and my husband is here and the rest of the family is here. What's the kind of a life that we are leading, right? So I declined every overseas assignment, which meant that I was slowing down in my career because the ones who would go outside, interact with the on site folks, learned better and possibly were getting better opportunities. So my career was slow. So, as you said, 25 years it took me to get to the title of a director and the role. Some people may have gotten 10, 15 years, but it didn't matter to me because for me, I know family is priority. And if anything that I choose in my career impacts that, I wouldn't like it. However, there were stages in my life when I knew I had probably got to uh, be away from my family for a little bit of time. So maybe some 3 weeks of travel was required and all of that. And at that point in time, I did switch. So that's what I'm saying, that your priorities change over a period of time,
Yes,
depending on the
yes.
situation. And when I quit from my corporate also was a similar decision because my mother was undergoing a surgery. I wanted to be there for her. I was doing a lot of travels, then. And I was trying to negotiate for a role with no more travel, which didn't come by. And I made up my mind that I would quit because I wanted to be around my mother and others in the family. Uh, and things may change after that. Once things are settled, I may still go ahead and do the travel. The shift, as you're saying, um, personal circumstances, of course, triggered it. But I feel that when you follow your priorities and you kind of know your purpose, success comes.
Yeah.
So you introduce me as a TEDx speaker. You introduce me as a Thinker 360, you know, top thought leader 3 times. In fact, I was recently also showcased on the New York Times Square billboard as one of the 100 top made creators. I didn't think any of this was success to me, or I didn't go after this. I did what I felt very passionate about with the larger intent of impact. And all of this
Mm.
came by, right? So not chasing money, fame, designations, but ensuring that I prioritize and live by the priority.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. It's all very, let's say, volatile and dynamic as well. And I think a woman needs to make those choices along the way, not compromising on what she thinks are priorities. So I know many young women who come to me with, wanting to have a child or not wanting to have a child. I keep saying that. I mean, things have to have they go simultaneously. There's nothing like
Yeah,
stop this for doing that. Right.
exactly.
So how
That's
long
well
did
said.
it yeah. How long did it take before the new path felt like your path? I mean, what was a new path like? Was it just the only path available, or was it that completely of your choice because of your passion? Please walk us through that.
Yeah. So when I quit from the corporate career, I didn't know what I was going to do. I'll be very honest about that.
Mm,
I
mhm,
knew that I don't want to do this travel. I had given them 3 months. They had given me 3 months, the company. I was at home. In fact, I take the time off for the 3 months. And I said I was at home. I was not going to the office and working, but every day I was doing something. Beyond just caring for people at home every day, I would step out for 2 hours, volunteer somewhere, meet a lot of people because I emphasize a lot on networking. It is very, very important. And in those 3 months, I realized that there's enough to do. It's not as if I'll be killed by boredom the minute I, leave my job. There's enough work that I could do, sensible work which I could add value to. How do I make money out of it is something we'll have to figure out. So that I was very clear. So I quit in 3 months' time, and they said, please come back to work, and we won't be able to give you the kind of role that you want without travel. I knew that I don't want to continue, and I quit. So I didn't know what was I going to do. But one of the things I was clear was that I wanted to do something in the space of women because I had, of course, grown in technology, didn't see too many women, and whoever I did see and work with, I guided and mentored them. It's all about the mindset of women, right? It's nothing about skills and capabilities. Everybody has the same skill and capability, especially today's day of AI. Your capability is the last thing that you have to talk
A
about.
leveler,
But
huh? AI is a leveler.
yeah, the mindset that I'm ready or I should be doing something is what I was trying to help women with. So I knew this is the space I want to be. So what do I do in this space? Look, there are a zillion things that you could do. I got an opportunity to consult with a startup, and then I got an opportunity to head the Jobs for Her Foundation, which now they call themselves as Her Key, right? I built this foundation from scratch for the 18 months, which is when the actual rebranding the second career of Neeraja happened because I realized what you have learned in the corporate space does not necessarily work in a not-for-profit space. And the Neeraja Ganesh, the brand also in some ways got established. And then I moved out and I went to work in the academia. So I did all of this. Things came by because, and things also come by when you're actually focused. Okay, this is what I like and this is what I don't like. But all along, because of the role that I was in, which was the head of Jobs for Foundation, I used to get invited to give talks. Not Neerja give talk, but head of Jobs for Foundation gives some talks. And the women who used to listen to me, and they were largely women audiences, would come back and tell me, this is very different to what we've heard otherwise. Um, and I was thinking, what's different? And I realized it's the stories that I used to bring. I used to tell them, see, I was also in a situation like you are in today. And then I did this, because of which it shifted something for me. And today I am where I am. And these women were able to resonate with that. And they felt if Neerja was in that situation, and by taking this action, she is where she's today, we can also do that. So that realization is when I said, this is my path. I need
Yeah.
to be able to share my experiences and create the impact and the transformation in the mindsets of everyone. Largely women come and sit through my sessions, but anyone and everyone. And then I
Yeah.
said, okay, how do I do that? So I can speak at conferences, I can write, which I do quite a bit. And then I started building my workshops and the leadership training, materials, and that's how things happen.
Ah, okay. So the universe worked for you, with you. Right. And what's
Exactly.
the big,
You what you
yeah,
want, you get.
yeah. So what's the biggest myth about following your passion that your experience debunks? Because a lot of women struggle with it. I mean, when I wrote the book, I wrote a book 9 months, and that started with during COVID times and took 2 years to complete it because a lot of research went into it. And it's all because, I wanted to write a book, and somehow, my husband sort of backed me up, and it happened. But there are lots of women who want to do something, but something kind of keeps pulling them back. Can you please, yeah, tell any few myths that can be busted right away?
So first of all, I think let's look at the myth of passion does not pay. Yeah, because
Yeah.
let's accept it that everyone is so attached to the money aspect. How
Mm,
and it was the same for me. Remember, I told you that in those 3 months before I actually exited, when I was at home, I used to go and meet a lot of people, and they were people who were not corporate folks because I knew I didn't want to go back to corporate. But I had networked quite well, both on LinkedIn and offline, with people who are doing very different things. Could be a podcaster,
mm,
as an example. Could be someone who's running a platform called Mums and Stories. I met a lady like that. Someone who's running a platform called Kahania, and as a storyteller. Someone else is doing something else. So I went to meet all of them, and in the back of my mind, it was how do you make money? It was there.
You actually met
Okay.
them in person.
I met them in person, and I'll tell you
Ah,
that I just messaged them on LinkedIn, or if I had their number, I said, I would like to meet you. And everybody accepted that invite, which was so beautiful, which
that's lovely.
means that people are very open to having conversations. And that's why I also give my time now. If someone says, I want to meet, I want to speak to you, I'm happy to kind of give time to them. Uh, Everybody accepted my invite. I was having a coffee or a lunch with someone or the other almost every other day, trying to understand what they do, how they kind of shifted from what they were probably doing earlier. Of course, I didn't ask them the money question, ki, how do you make money? But I found it very interesting, the things that they were doing. And I was asking them, can I collaborate with you? Because I was too scared to start up on my own. And everybody said, sure, because they thought I was going to bring in some incredible value with my 25 years. I didn't know what I could do for them, but the fact that they had the confidence that I could be of some value boosted my confidence. So, and that's why I say that I quit. That was the courage that there's enough to do. So I think following your passion, does it pay? It may not pay immediately, but you need to kind of also then put something around it to say, like, for example, if I want to help women, then what is the format? Uh, I could possibly come on these podcasts, and this is going to help everyone who's going to listen to it. This is one, thing that I can do, but possibly I can also offer one-on-one mentoring. I could also open some, programs, and those could be paid opportunities and things like that, right? So that's the thing. And for anyone who wants to do this, my advice today is that start early. Whatever is your what do you say, day job, because there is a day job where you have to go to the office or go to the clinic and do something. By the side, do what you're passionate about. Keep doing that in some ways. Today is a
yeah.
gig world. You can do 10 gigs, right? As long as there is no conflict of
Yes.
interest. So by the side, continue, following your passion through that gig. And it will kind of tell you whether it is real, whether it's really you're passionate, whether you can make it work, whether it gives you money. And at some point in time, you can switch from your mainstream career
Mm,
to that gig having become,
yeah.
your mainstream. So that's
I think
how
that's
it
very
is.
important now, right? With AI coming, and we need to be more
Yeah.
resilient, more diverse in our skills, and yeah, that's beautiful advice. I mean, it also says take the leap. People say take the leap and then figure it out. But you had the 25 years of financial stability before you pivot. What would you say to someone who doesn't have that cushion, that but feels the same pull? So, as you said, just figure it out, right, along the way. Is that what you're saying? Or
Yeah. So let's be realistic also. I think being optimistic is good, but realistic is also required, right? And that's why this big stuff that I said. So if you start early, like I'll give my daughter's example, right? She's 24. She works as a data analyst, but she's been working ever since she was in graduate school. There's a platform called as Aspire for Her. You did it out in the introduction. They started in 2020. My daughter was getting into graduate school in 2020. It was the COVID years. So there was an opportunity to work with Aspire for her, and she worked all the 3 years of her studying. And the kind of learning that she had there was immense, right? And then, of course, she went on to become a data analyst wherever. But that also with in her college, she used to be part of many clubs, and she picked up a elective called as peer training because she liked to train people and come on public stages. So by the side today, she does a lot of public speaking. She does a lot of training for college students and corporates and all of that, right? So no, that's not her main focus. That's her passion. And it may bring her money or not bring her money, but it's building a very good brand for her. Everybody knows, Sneha Ganesh, my daughter, not because of my daughter, but because she is who she is, because of the other things that she does along with her day job. So for anybody, doesn't matter whether you're 24 or 50, the point is that start early. And even if you didn't do it for first 20 years, it's okay. At least start now. But money is important, and start saving as early as you can. So I'll tell you, my first stipend was 1,500 rupees in those days. And my mother insisted that 500 rupees out of it I must save. So I would get some 1,000 rupees in my hand, which was not good enough. Because the minute I started earning, no, my pocket money was stopped. So I
Right.
had to manage with this. And I was a student and I was working. So there was a lot of expenses. 1,000 was not good enough in those days. But my
Mm,
mother said, you
mm.
make do with it. This 500 has to be saved. And in 3 months, my stipend became 2,500 rupees. I said, okay, up to 2,000 rupees hai mere paas. But my mother said, no, now you're going to save 1,000 rupees. You still will have 500 rupees more to spend. And I will tell you that 500 rupees, which just saved some 35 years ago, would have compounded and become whatever today, right? So saving is very, very important. I tell all kids and all age groups that start early and have
Mm.
a goal around saving for sure. And you don't kind of pull out that money, just because something else is happening unless it's an emergency. So there are those two things. Start your gigs early and start saving. And that kind of helps.
Yeah. Right. So we'll go into the networking side of things. You teach a program called Networking for Results. Most people hate not networking because it feels very transactional and very gross. What's the Neeraja method for building a network that actually opens doors without making you feel like a used car salesman? You
Yeah.
know?
So I always start by saying, what is the definition of networking?
Yeah.
Networking is about offering value, about helping others. It is not about what can I get from someone. And that's the first myth. The outcome later could be that. But the going in position is about, I am meeting Dr. Aruna. How can I help her? You're meeting me. How can you help me? That the minute you shift your minds to helping someone, what is the value that I can provide? It doesn't feel so gross. It doesn't feel transactional. You and helping comes very naturally to most of us, right? It's in our culture. As I said, I helped when the fifth grade student, that girl.
Yeah.
So it was part of me, and that's why I'm a good networker because I'm not looking at what can you do for me. I'm only looking at what can I do for the other. And in some ways, it's very philosophical. Bhagavad Gita types to say that karm karo, phal ki chinta mat karo. If you come back to you, it does come back to you. But your going in position has to be, how can I be of value? Now you say, how can I be of value to any random person that I'm meeting at a event or on LinkedIn, right? Which is where the conversations matter. So when I'm genuinely having a conversation with you, I meet you somewhere, and then genuinely. I think we both had a chat on WhatsApp because you were looking for some kind of public speaking experience. I think for your child, right? Now I offered what I knew of. That's
Cute.
you asked me something on the WhatsApp group. You asked, but I came one on one and I said, okay, this is a possibility. These are some clubs. Somebody told me something, and I offered you what I knew of. Now you will remember me because of that. The 1,024 people sitting in the group may or may not have responded to you, but this one woman actually responded to you one on one, and whether you were able to make use of that response or not, you will remember because I took the time to respond to you.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
hence, I was probably on your radar. Maybe because of that, you checked me out to say, what does she do? And then it'll say, okay, maybe I need to get her on my podcast. And here's an opportunity for me. How did I network with you? Just
Yeah.
by offering a little bit of value. So that's what is networking. It's not about
Mm.
selling. It's not about asking. And once or twice you've offered value, uske baad you can go and also ask. If you want something from me, you can definitely ask because you have already provided value to me. I can ask you because I have provided value. Then I can be shameless and also say, are you able to connect me with this person? Or I'm in this kind of a situation. Can you help me out? Otherwise, most people always look out for you. You will come back and tell me, Neerja, okay, this is a program networking of results you're doing. No, I think this particular organization is looking for someone to train them on networking, and you will make the connect. I don't even have to ask you. So those things
Right. Yeah.
come beyond, but going in position is how can I be of value?
Add value. Absolutely. The right hook. Uh,
Yes.
Now, how do you nurture networks? I mean, you've made a network, but you can't keep consistently nurturing them. That's something that I struggle with. How do you do that?
Yeah. Now, again, nurturing a network doesn't mean every week you have to be calling the person or meeting the
Yeah.
person. Or, that's not what it is. It means that in the first conversation, I have established what is the other person's ambition, aspiration, challenges. Then, and if it was a very genuine conversation, I will always remember this person with this aspiration and with this challenge. And either I can immediately give you something as help, or I will, when I come across something which I believe is going to be of value add to you, I will then flick it across to you. Okay. And that could be after 2 months also. It is okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, for example, now I know you have this podcast. If I come across somebody who I feel will be a good guest for you, I will then, just make the connection, and it could happen after 2 months. And then in another, 3 months, I may actually say, here is a public speaking course that your, child can possibly sit through. That's also good enough. In 3 months, I have connected with you for two things and I've offered you something. That is good enough for nurturing.
Right.
Uske baad, you
Right.
will
Right.
always remember me. I don't have to,
Yeah.
offer anything more to you. But
Yeah.
the universe will work in such a way that things will
That.
collide. That will happen.
True. True.
And
No, you
so
got.
I think that the simplest could be a happy birthday, because today on social media, everybody knows everything. So if I know it's your birthday, can I just one on one? And that's why I say, don't go and put on that Facebook feed, or on that LinkedIn feed, happy anniversary, because 1,000 people have wished you. You will not be able to differentiate. But if you can go one on one to the person and say happy birthday,
Yes. Yes.
that
Yes.
itself is a
I
fantastic,
always do that. Yeah.
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 So
That's
that's
right. Right. Coming to leadership, you've led teams in domains where you don't know the technical jargon, maybe. What's your process for getting up to speed fast enough to make good decisions without pretending to be an expert? How do you navigate such situations?
sure. So when I was in technology, see, technology used to change even then, but not at the pace it is changing now. So knowing the fundamentals of software engineering is definitely required when I was leading teams to deliver software products. You need to understand how software is built. Now, whether you use COBOL, which was the language when I started, or whether we are working on an ERP domain as PeopleSoft, Oracle, or whatever, uh, the if I know the fundamentals of software engineering, I think I'll be able to make sensible conversation with my teams. And I will know who's the expert in the team, who kind of runs code, who does the testing, who's the business person. And if I can empower them, that's most important. Trust and empowerment is very important, for you as a leader. So if I empower them and tell them that you are responsible for this outcome, but I'm by the side, because of my knowledge of how products are built, I then ask the right questions, not as a challenge to them, but in terms of also wanting to learn. Then you are actually becoming an ally to them. You are in a leadership position, you can support them, you can get them all the resources that are required, but they are the ones who are driving it. So I'll give you again a story. PeopleSoft is the story where I moved into this from Capgemini. I was asked to work within a client organization where they had transitioned all work from Paris to Bangalore, from on-site to Bangalore. Before I was hired to lead this team, they had built the team that was going to do the work from Bangalore. They had agreed on the KPIs, the metrics that the on-site team was going to, check how Bangalore is performing. The knowledge transfer had happened. Everything was done, right? So I had no say in any of these. And then I was hired and said, now you lead this team, deliver to the KPIs that have been agreed to with this team. So I couldn't even pick my team, right? But I had to deliver. So when I walked in, it was the month of August. I'm giving a little more detail so people can visualize. The month of August in Europe, it's summer, and everybody is by the beach, or they are holidaying. And our team, this team, had to do the first release, which was a very small release. There's some two bug fixes they had to put, like a test release, but it was still going into production. And the team told me that there is one person who's sitting in Paris who needs to help us set up something, only then we'll be able to go ahead and make this release. But this person sitting in Paris is not helping. He's now coming on calls. He's not responding to emails. He's not responding to our Slack messages. So we can't go ahead. And I came in. I had nobody had introduced me because everyone in Paris, including the big boss, who had actually transitioned his whole team to Bangalore, was on holidays. Now what do I do? So I said I'm going to write an email. So I wrote an email to this person who was supposed to help us and copied the big boss in Paris and copied my own manager here in Bangalore and my team members. And I said, we need this done. If it is not done, we will not be able to make the release as required. I just said that. So I'm requesting for something to be done. And I'm also saying if you don't do it, then there is a risk. I'm painting that in black and white and I'm telling everyone, whoever is involved. The minute this email went, that big boss sitting by some beach responded in big, bold letters. I'll tell you some font size of 50 or 60. The only line he wrote was, you do not ask my person to work. Basically trying to say, who are you to ask my people to do work for you? Right? But this is what he said. Big, bold letters. I can still remember that. You do not ask my person to work. And he further copied some more senior folks. Now my team came running to me and they said, Neeraja, this is not the way to do it. I said, see, I mean, you were having a challenge. And we know that if this person doesn't help, then we won't release it. If we don't release, we will only be questioned. And there is a why didn't you escalate it earlier, right? So I have no time for the introductions now. We are in the critical part. I had to do what I had to do. The outcome of this was that everybody got to know, and this man in Paris actually fixed it. And then we did our release. So काम तो हो गया. We got the required outcome. But after that, I spent time building relationship with this big boss. So I had to kind of fix that because the relationship is very important. So I did that. So what I try to say is that I didn't know people's work. I was such a newbie and nobody knew me. But in the role that I am in, I need to be able to deliver outcomes, which is very important.
Yeah, I have bold steps along the way,
Yeah.
which basically give results, right? So you've talked about executive presence in your workshops, but for someone who feels like they're faking it in high stakes meetings, what's the one micro behavior they can change this week to project more confidence?
Okay. So a little bit of differing views. So I don't really advocate faking because, it becomes
No,
then is
not
further
at all.
further
The
pressure
executive
on
presence.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. But what I'm saying is that the confidence, eventually what happens is the presence. What is presence? Presence is just being yourself. That's why my TEDx talk is also about being yourself. And many people actually ask me how I can be that, right? And I'll give you some stories there. It's not about acting like somebody else. It's not about dressing like somebody else. Presence is nothing but showcasing your own credibility, your confidence, your communication, right? That is presence. And that confidence, the credibility and communication comes from the preparation that you do. So if you are prepared and you walk into a room, automatically your presence is elevated because you walk in with confidence and you are yourself. So you know that when you are yourself, nobody can come and you know throw something at you because you know yourself so well. Um, and I'll give you another story here. So my daughter, again, I do narrate my daughter's stories a lot in my sessions. When she was in school, and I'm sure you know, there are these model United Nations competitions that happen. So, the school hosts something called as a model United Nations. How does UN work? So this is a model United Nations. So I think she was in eighth grade when she probably got to know of it. Then in the ninth grade, she came to me and she said, Ma, um, this time I want to volunteer for MUN, Model United Nations. because I don't know how to do things. I will volunteer. So when I'm volunteering, then I will see everything, what is happening, and I will learn. So in 10th grade, then I can actually be a part of it. So I said, okay, yeah. And then after a few days, she came back to me and she said, I have been given a volunteer role, which is, I don't know how it works today, but in those days, say you are the whatever, you know, chairperson of, say, water issues is getting discussed. So you are chairing that. And then there are other countries, right? Each of the person is representing a different country in this debate, and say you want to pass some update, or some message to the other country person who's sitting there, then they would write on sheets of paper, and this volunteer has to run from this person to that person and pass the sheet of paper. I don't know how it works today because
Yeah,
technology is
yeah,
advanced, maybe you have other
yeah.
things. So she said this is her role, paper pusher, from one person to the other, and I lost it. Okay. I don't, whether rightly or wrongly, but I lost it because I told her, what are you going to learn with just pushing paper, right? You want to be sitting and debating on one. It's not going, you're not going to get any additional confidence just by pushing paper. So I told her, if you want to do something, you will go and sit. This year itself, you will go and sit. You will choose a particular country. You will choose a particular topic. You may not open your mouth and not speak, but you will sit there because that's what will give you confidence. And somehow she figured and she got, I think, Saudi Arabia and water problems. You can imagine in the ninth grade, she had no clue what this meant. But the research that she did for this, she spoke to us, she spoke to everybody, and she looked at the internet, papers and papers of research that she had about the country and the water problems and what everybody else is doing. She may not have opened her mouth at month, but I think
It
that
was all there.
research gave her the confidence to even sit. And the next year, she actually won. And then she's gone on to, be a debater at all levels, and she's also spoken at TEDx now, right? So that's the thing. Building confidence comes from being there. Doesn't matter. You don't know it yet, but how will you know? You can only swim when you go into the water. There is no theory. You can do how many ever simulations of a car driving, but unless you get onto the road, you can't, right? So that's what it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's very good advice indeed. You've been named 3 times as a top global thought leader. That doesn't happen by accident, right? It requires continuous learning. So, how do you stay intellectually curious and relevant in a world that's changing so fast?
Yeah. So networking, I definitely say, because not all learning is about certifications, right? I believe in a lot of learning from, for example, if someone were to listen to this podcast, imagine the amount of learning he or she will have, because we are speaking about so many things, and maybe the person doesn't have to learn all the 100 things that we spoke about. Maybe two things is good enough, but that's learning, right? So attending events, when you go through social media, following thought leaders and picking up something and putting it to use, podcasts, write-ups that you kind of, some articles that you read, conversations, one-on-one conversations, and actually conversations, networking events with a very diverse set of people. So when I was still in my corporate, I went to some entrepreneurship events. I had not thought of becoming a entrepreneur at all, but because it was not then the buzz of entrepreneurship, things were starting up. So I attended a few events, and that learning I could put to use later. I sat through a podcast fest when I still don't host a podcast because I'm a guest on many. But I sat through a podcast fest to really understand what podcasting industry is going through, right? All of this is learning, and it just kind of enhances your perspective to things. And hence, you are able to add that perspective to what you already know and speak something which is very unique. And hence, you become the thought leader. So, networking is important. Networking with diverse people is important. LinkedIn, social media is very important, and events are important. Don't keep going to the same, whatever is your industry. Like if you're in the medical profession, only attending medical, things. Like for example, I think on your podcast, you get such a diverse set of people. Why? You could have chosen to have only fraternity from, medical industry, right? But you feel that it is important to bring in a very diverse set of leaders on your podcast. Exactly that. That's how one actually learns. Otherwise, today we have AI to learn anything. But I think people are very important. So go ahead and meet people and
Absolutely.
have those
Oh,
conversations.
that's absolutely. That's the whole point of Luminary Lounge in the AI world. Thank you. Thank you for recognizing that. Your book is titled You Have Arrived, which suggests that we're already ready. But most people are waiting for the ideal moment to make a move. Why is that wait so dangerous? Like,
Okay,
please throw some light on that.
sure. So by the way, the book has not yet happened. So this is another
Yeah.
story, right? I wanted to have this book out on my 50th birthday, which was 4 years ago. So now everyone knows my age. But what happened was that was 2021, right? We had a very severe COVID episode at home and hospitalization, and we went through quite a bit of stress. So the book didn't complete by my 50th birthday. And then because 50 had passed, I also lost the steps to actually complete it. So by then I had actually put out the book cover and the name, and there are a few chapters that have happened, but I've not completed it, but I hope to complete it soon. So now you have arrived, right? And you spoke about the ideal moment. There's never an ideal moment because if you keep waiting for an ideal moment, uh, it's never going to. It's never going to happen. We say that okay, the day it's bright and sunny, I will probably go, for a run. Today it's very cloudy, so let me not go for a run. You can never have an ideal moment. There are always going to be things which are not going to be ideal. But if you want to do something, you have to just go about doing that, which is also, I mean, this exactly in the book. So what if 51, 50 didn't happen, 51, 52 did sometime? I have to release the book, but I have not been able to focus because something, shifted off for me. But if I just sit for 1 week or 2 weeks, I know I can complete the book. Uh, so even if you're in the worst of the situations, I know that, best of situations, we could possibly do things. Sometimes we are going through a lot in our life, a lot of depression. COVID was a example of that. We were all going through God knows what on a daily basis. My recommendation is that keep doing something every day. So in my own story, I told you in those 3 months when I was at home before I actually quit, and I had taken time off to care for my mother. For 6 weeks, she had gone through a hysterectomy and she had to take bed rest, or she had to be kind of not doing heavy work. So she was with me for 6 weeks. She recovered and went back. After that, my husband felt very ill. So I continued my leave also because the role was not there. And as he
Right.
recovered, my father-in-law felt very ill. So there were many things that were happening. And this was the first time in 20, I think after my daughter was born, some 20 odd years, maybe first time when I was taking so much of time off and being with myself. I could have chosen to
Right.
just sit at home, right? And I had the reason that I was caring for people at home. But I still went out every day because it's not that 24 hours I'm sitting with them. In the afternoons when people are taking a nap and there are others in the house, to take care, I went out for 2 hours. That's all. That's what I'm saying. Keep doing something on a daily basis, even when the situation is extremely bad. And there may be some days when you are not able to, which is okay. But on a daily basis, if you're able to move even 1 millimeter, imagine how much of ground you've covered in 6 months, right? So that's what one needs to do.
Hmm, hmm. Well said. Mentorship is another segment that I wanted to talk to you about. Mentorship it's become a fashionable world. Everyone wants to be a mentor or have one. But you've said your best mentors were in formal relationships. They were pieces of advice that came your way. What's the difference between real mentorship and just networking with a fancy label?
You're very right. I mean, today mentorship has become a fancy word, and there are so many platforms that have come by, and everybody gets on to being on that platform because some kind of credibility gets established that you are a
Mm,
mentor. Um, but real mentorship, and again, real mentorship doesn't necessarily have to be in the form of oh, I will schedule 3 mentorship sessions. Those are required when you really want to have some huge transformational things happen for you. Then you can actually sit down with a mentor and say, let's work for the next 6 months together, which also, I do. But I want to tell both the mentors and mentees something. For mentees, this is a huge opportunity for you because whoever you choose to take on as your mentor has that many numbers of lived experience, life experience, work experience, at least 25, 30 years on the planet, and then maybe 10, 15, 20 years of that work experience, which you are having access to. So it's a huge opportunity. Respect the mentor's time and commit to taking action. Many people who come to me, I also offer a lot of pro bono mentoring through some platforms to people who may not necessarily be able to pay, but I also do a lot of paid mentoring. I say that when you are coming to me, even if you paid my fees, it's an hour that I'm spending with you. We need to make the most use of it. So the mentee's responsibility is that he or she treats it with that kind of rigor and respect and takes action, right? Only then it's going to be of use. So mentor, and I always, quote Indra Nooyi. She says she is who she is, or she became who she became because of the mentors that she had in her life. She doesn't even talk about some leadership programs that she went to, or her managers, or maybe some of the roles that she was given. She always talks about the mentors that she has had because of what she is became who she was. So mentorship is transformation for people. So we have a huge responsibility when we call ourselves a mentor or get into a mentoring relationship because you can actually transform people. So both ways, both mentee and mentor have to use this. It's really very what do you call it? I'm not getting the right word, but it's pious almost. Okay, it's not just a cringe that you should.
Yeah. No, no, that's serious business. Mentorship. You
Yes.
worked with thousands of women and students over the years, right? And what are the common leadership qualities you see in people who go on to do extraordinary things? Are these qualities innate or do you think they can be developed? And especially in the current generation.
Yeah. So the qualities can be developed. Um, I mean, all of us are born the same way. Okay, fine. There might be some genes, but I think we we grow up based on our environment. So you always are interacting with your family members, and then you go to a school, and hence that environment, and then you go to work somewhere or you do some community service. So the circumstances and the people that you are kind of interacting with, the resources that are made to you, develop you differently to the other person. That's there. However, the people who go on to do very different things, whether it's extraordinary or whatever, but who do very different things, one definitely have a goal in life. You need to have a goal. And this can be started as early as possible. It's not that, uh, your goals have to come only when you're 20 or 50 or whatever. You can start it as early. And again, I will go back to narrate my daughter's story. Okay. So, as I said, she went to graduate school during the COVID years in 2020. From her 8th standard, she has wanted to study in Christ University in Bangalore because she's seen the campus and she was in love with the campus. And she knew she didn't want to do engineering. She was an extraordinary student. She was a topper, but she didn't want to do engineering. So she chose maths, statistics, computer science. Yeah, somewhere, both of us have done similar subjects, but she chose maths, statistics, computer science because she wanted to look at data and data analytics. Um, COVID happened and it was virtual. 1.5 years was virtual. So you can imagine for this young student who has looked at the campus and wanted to go to that campus, she could have studied anywhere because now everything is virtual. Anyways, on day one of the college, they gave them some activity. I think they were just trying to humor the students because even the faculty was trying to figure out how to work, how to do everything online. So they gave
Yeah,
these
yeah.
students an activity to draw a vision board. And I left the students to do what they had to do. I don't even know who did what. But my daughter, if she takes on something, she does it with absolute focus. Otherwise, she won't do it.
Yeah,
So that's who she
that's
is.
great. Mm.
She drew her vision board and she took a picture of that and she sent it to me on WhatsApp. I was only happy that, okay, the college is trying to humor the kids and something is happening. I didn't even give it, a second glance what she had drawn. After 2, 3 years is when I found that picture again. And then I looked at that and I'm seeing how she has, traversed those 3 years. So many of the things on that vision board that she put
Yeah,
that day were a tick box, had happened.
lovely.
She had
Yeah,
wanted to be on public stages. So she chose this elective in college, which is peer training, which you usually wouldn't, right? You are a science
yeah.
student, math,
Mm.
statistics, you will do something else. She chose peer training because she knew this will help her get out to public stages.
Sure,
She
sure.
had
Nice.
TED, TEDx on her vision board. She's a TEDx speaker. Okay.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
She had so many things and she had put international travel. Okay. She's in Australia right now
Mm.
as we speak, holidaying. So,
Okay.
okay. So, goal,
Yeah.
very, very important. The
Important.
goals help us focus. And then it shows you what is it that you can pick up to be able to
Mm.
go to that goal. It's like I'm
Yeah.
sitting in a car. If I don't know where I need to go, then I'm just driving on the road. And if there is a barricade, since I don't know and I had no objective, I may just turn around and go back home. But if I exactly knew I wanted to go there and there is a barricade, then I will figure out through maps or through asking someone else, how
Yes.
else can I reach there? That's why goals are important, right? So that's one advice to everyone, especially the younger people. Second is about developing yourselves into a T-shaped individual. Many of us focus on the depth of our expertise, the subject matter expertise. So if I'm a technologist, what is new in technology? If you are in the medical profession, then what is new in that, which is required. But that is the vertical of the T. And you are as good as anybody else. I am as good as somebody else, right? Because each of us is developing our vertical of the T in the same manner. So how do you compare and how do you differentiate? The horizontal of the T, which is the more softer aspects. Are you a collaborator? Are you curious? Are you creative? Are you able to have stakeholder conversations, problem solving, and many other things, networker, branding, and all that, which is the horizontal of the T, which brings in the difference. To say that,
Mm.
I think I
Mm.
should look at Neeraja or a Sneha or a Aruna and not somebody else. And that doesn't come
Mm.
from courses. There could be courses that are offered for those, but
Yeah.
those don't come from courses. They come
True.
from
True.
all the extra initiatives that we take. So if you are a student, then do you, do things in college? Do you volunteer? Do you run clubs? Do you host programs? And if you are a working professional, then beyond your day job, do you pick up some initiatives at work and outside? Right? So that's how you become the best leader.
Mm. Absolutely. That's great advice. You yourself juggle multiple roles: trainer, speaker, author, organizational leader, several gigs. How do you manage your energy, not just your time? Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, okay. So as I said, time and hence the energy also depends on your priorities. If you know exactly what you have to do, you will do only that much, right? Otherwise, people want to do many things. Why do they want to do many things? Because they see everybody else doing it. So
Mm.
whoever asks me this question on a podcast, I say, see, you are running a podcast, you're hosting one. How long will it take for me also to host a podcast? But till date, I have not chosen to host a podcast because I don't know what it will give me. I don't have a reason for me to host. You have a reason. That's why you're hosting, right? Uh, so don't start looking at everybody else who's doing many things, and that's also cool. So let me do it. The minute that happens, then your energy also dips. Time, of course, you will not have. So, what is your priority? For me, if you look at my headline on LinkedIn, it says, I am passionate about bringing about a positive mindset shift with every interaction that I have with people. So then I decide what are those interactions, right? And I will do those. For example, I started something called as a LinkedIn Writing Mindset Challenge last September. Why did I start that? That was never in my kitty of offerings. But I used to do a lot of workshops on personal branding. People used to sit in these workshops. Personal branding, amongst many things, you also have to write on LinkedIn and showcase, your thought leadership on digital media. People would not still go on to write on LinkedIn. They would attend my session. They would be very, enthused about everything. But to write on LinkedIn, they struggle. So then I realized that this needs a mindset shift. I can't be sitting and doing 2 hours of conversations and say, write, 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 write. It's not a writing issue. It's more a mindset issue to say, should I be there? Who will judge me? Who will read my content? So I started a virtual challenge in September. And right now, as we are speaking in February, the sixth cohort is going on. Okay. And the mindset shifts that people have had. Because what is the first thing I ask people to do? The why behind you wanting to be on LinkedIn and the who do you want to target? You don't have to target the whole world. There is a specific set of people that you want to target with your content on LinkedIn or your content on podcast. And the why. Why do you want to do it? You want to build a brand, but why? You want a job, you want to sell your products, or you want to be invited to conferences. The why is important. So when you know your why, and when you know the who you want to serve, life is sorted, and you will start writing, and it will keep going in your daily life. And whatever you want to do, ensure first of all your priorities. You can do only 3 or 4 things. You can't do 100 things. Focus only on that. Everything else has to be delegated or thrown out of the window or pushed it to next year. So time is also, something that will, give you the energy. And when you do the things that matter to you, it will energize you. When you do the things which you do because of, oh, rest of the world is speaking on stages, I think that's the way to build a brand. I also will go on speak
Yeah.
on stage, but it is actually draining me. It doesn't help, right? So I never said I want to be a public speaker, but I wanted to impact people in ways that could come possibly by being on the stage. So I became a public speaker, right? So the
Mm,
why is
mm,
very, don't do because
true.
everybody else is.
Yeah. Wow. Lovely. And many books or hobbies or, habits that you still hold on to very dearly and help you maintain a balance with what you do?
Um, so yeah, I mean, from a book perspective, I'm not a avid reader, but there have been some books that have influenced me largely in the space that I work, which is, women. So obviously, the fact that I believe that the power of communities is huge. You don't have to do everything on your own, and you don't have to struggle with everything, right? Let's have conversations with people because there are the others who can help you, and you can always delegate stuff to the others. So the power of communities is huge, and these kind of learnings have come by from the books like Lean In, written by Sharon Sandberg. Apurva Purohit has written two beautiful books. I always talk about it. The first book is Lady, You're Not a Man, and the second one is Lady of the Boss. Beautiful books, right? So these are, certain things which have kind of impressed upon me that you don't have to do anything yourself.
Mm.
You don't have to be a superwoman. There's nothing called as a superwoman. Uh, you have to kind of take the world along with you and use the world. So I
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
community which I called as Newspires, and I actually pulled off an event at the beginning of this year with just my community members. Neither am I an event expert, nor are the community members event experts. They have their own tech jobs and other jobs. But because we are together and there was a common purpose, which was the event was about LinkedIn writing mindset, right? So I kind of called it LinkedIn Writing Mindset Summit. The 10 of us came together and pulled off a half day virtual conference. From the feedback, it appears that we were as professional, if not more, than any other event management company who would have pulled off a conference. So,
Right.
power of communities. That's I definitely go by that. And in terms of habit, I think I could be more disciplined, and even more disciplined in terms of when I wake up and when I sleep, what I do. But I think I do what I want to do, right? I'm very clear about that. That list of stuff. This is all I will do. I will not do anything beyond this. Even if somebody says that "Hey, it's good for you, or why don't you do it? Unless and until I know the why behind doing something, I don't do it. So I think that's
Right.
what keeps me where I am.
Lovely. Yeah. Excellent. I mean, amazing conversation. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for reminding us that we've already arrived. We're already there. We're already sort of, you know, essentially beings who can work with the universe, with the power of community, and do what we would like to do and love to do for passion, and finally figure out the lucrativeness of it later. We just need to start walking. If today's episode resonated with you, share it with someone at their own crossroads. Please subscribe to Luminary Lounge wherever you listen and keep an eye out for Neerja's upcoming book. You have arrived. No glass ceilings, no broken rungs, no glass cliffs. Learn more about her work on the links that we'll share with you. Until next time, remember the wisdom you're looking for is already inside you and around you. Sometimes you just need to hear someone else's story to unlock it. Thank you so much, Nirja, for being there today in this lounge, the Luminary Lounge, which aims to essentially, in a way, network with people who've done so much for the world and make the world a better place for the future generations to live in. Thank you so much indeed.
My pleasure and such fantastic conversation. The last bit I will tell all the listeners is at least take one tip and implement it. Only things change only when you do that.